Are you a real estate agent, and have you ever ran into a situation where someone's like, hey, can you sell my home? And you're like, absolutely. And then all of a sudden you get into the deal to find out that they owe more than their house is worth. And you know what you probably did? You probably said, hey, you either have to short sell this home or go into foreclosure. Those are your only options. Well, I'm here to tell you that is a complete lie. And if you are still telling your clients that, and that's the only option you can potentially think of, you are doing a disservice to your clients and you have no idea what you're talking about. So in the world of real estate, there are so many ways to get deals done. And one of the things that bothers me about real estate agents, we keep ourselves in a box. Now, I have been there. I've been that person. Honestly, I was ignorant because I didn't know. But if you're watching this or you're listening to this, you are gonna know right now on this show. Hi, my name is Cameron Hodge, and welcome to the Cameron Hodge Show. I am your host. Sometimes I bring people in that are awesome in the world of real estate, whether they're contractors or investors, it does not matter. But I bring people in to bring you information because I think they're cool people and they have a story to tell. A lot of times, because I'm all over the place right now, I'm just sharing tips, tricks, and little things I've learned along my journey in business. And hey, I am not a seasoned veteran. I'm not some crazy guru on here trying to sell you stuff. I'm literally just a guy who's learning stuff and wanting to share his journey. And the cool thing is I get to leave these little show nuggets besides. That way my boys, when they get older, they get to go back and see what their father was doing at this age and that age and what was going on in his life and how he thought. So I absolutely love that, most importantly of all. So in this episode, what I'm really wanting to dive into is I want to dive into, how realtors can close low equity deals and they can get paid for it in the process. So we've all been agents before, and if your first time listening to this, I'm also a licensed agent in the states of California and Florida. I've been licensed since 2020. I've been a real estate investor since 2017, sold all my properties off by 2021, and I'm only now getting back into that game because I was so focused on my regular business. But as an agent, you probably run into a situation, I know I have, where someone's like, hey, I need you to sell a home, and their home is just underwater. Their mortgage is higher than it's worth. And it isn't so much a problem now. It popped back up in the last year at the time of this video, this episode. But honestly, the situations still happen all the time, right? We've all heard it in the industry, like, oh, I want more than my home's worth. And you're like, okay, crazy person. I'm here to tell you that those deals, you can potentially close multiple deals extra per year if you know this thing. So normally when someone comes to you in that situation, what do you probably tell them? Oh, you have to be a short sell, meaning you go to the bank, you say, oh, Mr. Bank, can you please let me sell my home for less than it's worth without paying you money out of pocket? And the bank can either say yes or they can say no. And now obviously there's a longer process to that, but that is the gist of it. Or if someone can't make their mortgage payments because they lost a job, death in the family, whatever situation, hey, life happens. What do? Oh, you have to go to foreclosure. Come on guys. Let's actually help our clients here. So something that I've learned in the last coming weeks, and I am just blown away, is that there are so many more creative options to help these people. Now for me and my business partner, we are very focused on veterans, and I feel like an idiot that I didn't know this sooner. So one way is really called creative finance. And the first thing I want to bring up is subject to. Now, when you go to buy a car or a house, so a lot of times people get what? They get a loan, a mortgage, car loan, whatever. So you have the loan, and then you have what? You have the title, or you have the deed to the property or the vehicle. Well, believe it or not, there's actually multiple pages in the IRS tax code outlining how to do this process, but you can actually keep a loan in place under one person's name and put the deed or title in another person's name. Now, I did a subject to on a vehicle recently for a 2021 Sienna where the loan stayed in place. I had the payments directed to my bank account, and now that owner actually had to stay on the title until the loan is completely paid off, and then I can go and get it switched into my name only. Right? And we can set up a contract separately for that. But, I was able to subject to a vehicle to where my credit's not getting attacked, but I'm making payments, no credit check, no down payment, nothing, just took over payments on the vehicle. Okay? I'm seeing this happen all the time in the real estate industry. Now, where do you find these properties? A lot of time homeowners that are probably open to keeping a loan in place in their name, which is risky, right? You're assuming the person you're signing the deed over is gonna keep paying on time. So that is one risk, absolutely, to your client. But a lot of times it's a listing that won't sell, right? Something's going on in the home, they want more than it's worth, right? For sale by owner, can potentially be the same situation. Pre-foreclosure, they're missing payments, they're not being able to do it. Look, a lot of agents don't like going to investors because they feel like they're getting kicked out of the pot, they're not gonna get paid. But here's the reality. If you have a lead that you're like, oh, I can't help you unless you do a short sale. Oh, you know, this listing is not selling, it's the listing contract is about to expire. Why would you turn away getting any money? You probably spent time and effort into these. Why wouldn't you try to bring a solution that could at least net you about a couple grand, right? Sometimes it could be a full commission, but something, I would rather have 20% of something than 0% of nothing, or 100% of nothing. Jeez, you know what I mean? But subject to transactions are a great solution. There's a lot of investors, me included, to where a lot of times if you have a client, let's say they want $400,000 for their property, but it's really only worth $375. Well, a lot of times if their interest rate is favorable, right, less than 5% usually, all right, a lot of times there's an investor that probably will be interested in that property. But if they go out and get a loan right now, like a DSCR investment loan, they're gonna be paying over 7% interest all day. And that might not be good, that might not make the house work. But because that interest rate is below 5%, now the property is actually advantageous to buy as a rental. And what's funny is let's say your client wants that. When you do a subject to transaction, you can negotiate whatever you want. That's the best part. So you can say, hey, this listing is about to expire. They want more than it's worth. It's not selling. What can you do for me? Well, a savvy investor like me, I would come in and say, great, I'll give you $2,500 as a commission fee for bringing me the deal. And then I'll give your client, the numbers make sense for what I like to do for rentals. I'll actually pay your client that $400. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep the original loan at $375, and we're gonna do a wrap, and we're gonna have your client have a second lien on the property with a loan and interest rate. Sometimes it's no interest because it might not be advantageous for investors to have an interest rate in that second loan, or they could have some interest on the loan if they choose. And that way, you have to pick the right title companies to do this, and any good investor is gonna know exactly where to go. And you can set it up to where you're getting money for a listing that wouldn't sell, or maybe a lead that you never would have had, okay? And now your client's happy. Now, a lot of people have risks like this. And here's my one issue where I have risk with this is I'm seeing a lot of investors having issues with VA loans, and there's a lot of pre-foreclosures that are VA loans. Now, there's still some morality that comes with this because that person is still tying their name to that mortgage. So you're like, oh, they won't be able to get a mortgage. Not true. A lot of times, depending what loan product they're trying to do, all they ask is that loan servicer, the buyer, you have to have a third-party company that is servicing that loan between both parties, is the payments are at least 12 months made, and then they can get a new home. Now, it varies, and there's other ways to get lenders. It really depends on the lender, but that is some true. So if you say, oh, they can't get a home if they keep their name in the loan, not true. It just might be a little bit of a wait until they can get that next home. Remember, if they were in tough waters, you have to have a hard talk. Be like, look, do you want a solution? Or do you want to stay in this home? Because that's really what we're looking at here. So that is one issue they can work through. Sometimes you're like, well, Cameron, if you change the title, but leave the loan the same, the bank's gonna call the note due. Not always. Honestly, out of the stats right now in our community and my partners, out of probably like 200 homes, 1 or 2 might have the note due, and there's a couple ways to work around that. So again, it's not the end of the world. You might just have to give the property back to the original owner and then do a lease option, giving the investor the full power of the property to rent and do whatever, and then just put a date in the contract where they're gonna buy the property from them. But the cool thing is that still counts as a rental for that client, and they might be able to wash the mortgage over time. So, and that client does get the tax benefits of being a real estate investor. So that is one benefit. But understand that it's not the route most investors want to go, because look, even when I get a property, I want to have ownership of it if I'm going to be doing stuff on the property, because I need to make sure my thing is secure. Lease option might not be enough. Because the hard thing is you don't know if that seller is going to actually keep paying mortgage payments, which obviously there will be separate agreements. So your clients need to be aware that a lot of times there might be a penalty if they are found actively not making mortgage payments or trying to destroy the property for whatever reason. But I'm telling you, like when I learned this, I feel like an idiot. How many more deals could I have closed if I knew this? Now, obviously, it's not just subject to transactions. You have seller financing. Maybe you have a client that they own nothing on the home, but they don't know if they want to sell it or it's worth more than what they want to sell it for. Well, investor with the right terms might do a seller finance where your seller gets their, just like a bank, they get a deed on the property with them as a lien holder, and they set the interest rate and the down payment terms with the investor, and now they're making a guaranteed income, which they can actually help with their taxes and appreciate some of that money against their income. So there's a lot of ways to solve these low equity deals. And agents, I implore you, you gotta think outside the box. That's part of also a big thing at Target Agents, is like we think outside the box. There are so many ways to get paid in this industry. And the cool thing is a lot of agents, investors farm these agents. They come in, the agent's like, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, here's $2,500 or so, and then I get the lead. Screw that. Most states, now it depends what state you're in, you can wholesale the deal. So for every $100 in net profit on that property for whatever rental it would be, you can usually do a $2,000 wholesale fee. Imagine, instead of getting $2,500, you built this community of investors, so now you have a lead who's willing to be creative. Now you can get $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on this property, and your broker ain't gonna get a commission split. Why? Because it's not commission, it's a wholesale fee. Now you have to make sure your brokerage is okay with it. You have to make sure you're in compliance with state laws. Like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal advisor, seek proper counsel. But for the way my business is set up, I know it's okay. I'm with eXp Realty. I know it will be okay as long as I follow certain rules and regulations and things like that. And I implore you to do the same. You have to make sure you do that research, but I'm telling you, don't let these deals slip by. And in this current economy, there are so many ways for agents to make money, and you have to be aware of what's going on. Now, the community I'm a part of, spent a lot of money to be a part of it. I encourage you that if you want to know more about it, down below I always have a link to schedule a phone call with me. I'm happy to make that introduction. But if you ever run across these leads, don't just throw them away. Learn the lingo, learn subject to, seller financing, wraps, all these different solutions to get that client what they want. And in the process, you can get a good fee and payment for a lead you never were gonna get money from to begin with. And I'm telling you, I know agents love to say, oh, I capped at my brokerage, or at eXp, like I'm an icon agent. Look, I don't care what they call me. If I'm making that level of money, no matter what, I really don't freaking care if I cap. I don't care if on paper I close 4 transactions, but I wholesaled like 500 grand in fees. You see what I'm saying? So the hard thing with an agent is we really just are self-employed employees. And until you start putting yourself as a real estate agent who's a business owner, do you start to step back and go, wait a minute, there's a better way to do things, right? Because as an agent, it's not just listen on the MLS and fit inside the box. You have to look outside the box. And honestly, every time I look outside the box, it might not fit for everyone, but there's usually a piece of information that allows me to close an extra deal or 2 per year. And as you know, even that can be on average, $8,000 average commission in the United States, extra 16 grand per year, just because you knew something extra. And that's assuming it's just like a basic commission fee on average of 8 grand, right? So be aware of what's available. Don't just toss these low equity deals to the side, because you need to make sure you know what's going on. Now, if you want to know more about this and you want to pick my brain, or hey, down below, whether you're listening on audio or YouTube, there's always a link to schedule a 15-minute phone call with me. I don't care if it's business, whether you're trying to get my help in real estate, I don't care what it is. Reach out. Maybe you just need someone to talk to. I don't care. For right now, the link's down below. Now, that may remove later on if I start to get too many spam calls or blown up. That's okay, but how am I to charge for it if I get that busy? No, I'm just kidding. So it's always down below. Now, if you're watching on audio, please leave a comment and review. It always helps grow so more people can get this value. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to be notified every time I drop a new video, which is every single week for this show. And I'm looking to ramp that up in the near future to give you tactical tips on how to be better in real estate as I learn along my journey. Because why would you want to spend $50,000 in training like I did when you can just learn from me here on this show. So I hope you got value in this show, and I hope it gave you some insight into some of the other ways to get creative as an agent. Don't just fit in the box, break outside the box. And you can always head to tiredagents.com if you want to join the community, or you want to join me at EXP. You can always reach out. I am here to help you get to where all the things I've learned and fast track you to success. And what's funny, and I'm a huge believer of this, success isn't just about making $1 million. Success is different for everyone. And to me, my time is the most important asset. And if I can preserve my time, money's kind of irrelevant as long as my family's taken care of doing the things we want to do. So I hope you got value in this episode, guys. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.